take questions from Mike first on the phone, and then we have some people here, and then Scott will be joining us shortly. So Sean, first question.
I guess, Mike, could you just first start, what is the status of Garrett going into the weekend?
He's back. He practiced. We Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I got out on the road and recruited a little bit, but the assistants got guys through some workouts, bigs and perimeter. He took part in those Monday and Tuesday. Yesterday we had a full practice. We actually scrimmaged, and Luke Herringody was back in practice with us as he's getting himself healthy. So he and Garrick were going at it a little bit, but he is back, ready to roll.
All right, so 100% then?
Yes.
Okay, and then you talked a little last week about, Pat kind of needing to get going a little bit offensively. Is that something that you need to consciously do with him, or that he just kind of, needs to work out himself when he's out there?
Yeah, I think for him, I don't want to put too much of a thing on that where he starts to get out of his element, because he's been so easy to play with. He's become such a better passer this year. In a lot of ways, he's driving and kicking to Atkins and Grant more than them kicking to him, and it's productive because those two guys are shooting the heck out of the ball. So I like him driving it more when he gets in there and gets to the basket. And I think if he rebounds more, it's going to get him more involved. The one thing he is doing, and he's kind of evolved into that, and probably have to do it with DJ Bird on Saturday, is being our defensive guy on the perimeter.
And then last one for me, just, the jack that you have right now is different than the one you had going into last season. Do you kind of almost take for granted what he gives you night in or night out right now?
I think you can do that. The double-doubles and the presence and the rebounding. I think he's the best rebounder in college basketball. I firmly believe that. But I think you can do that sometimes. I think I'm always mindful of, when we're watching film or talking to our team, is to, really make everybody understand and appreciate what this guy gives us and the physicality that he deals with night in and night out.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Brian?
Hey, Mike, just kind of broadly, how have you managed to try and keep the edges sharp here with such large swaths of time between games? Not like you haven't done it before, but what do you do to make the edges? I'm always worried about that. We got them in for workouts. They kind of lift on their own this week. And then yesterday we felt we just needed to come in and play. So we probably played at least 32 to 36 minutes scrimmage time. Everybody probably played 30 minutes. We just need to get up and down the floor. And we moved pretty good. I still think some conditioning needs to kind of get back in gear over the next 2 days. You lose that. But I thought we were good with the ball. We shot the ball great. We were moving pretty good. And the rest for some guys was good. It got their bodies refreshed. But I think we need to do a lot of 5-on-5 today again, just like yesterday, to kind of just get back to playing. Like, it's sort of off topic, but there are reports out there that the Big East basketball only schools, however you want to phrase it, are going to kind of separate off. I'm sure there are a million lawsuits that are going to come into play there, but just in general, that idea of Marquette and Georgetown separating from that league, and as a guy who was in it for so long, obviously going to the ACC now, what are your thoughts on that whole?
Yeah, well, like I said, the month leading up to us making the decision to the ACC, I had very mixed emotions, because our identity and my identity has been with the Big East, and I'm really proud of being a Big East guy. It's yet another blow that we all felt was coming. It's one of the reasons we made the move we made to the ACC. But to see that league maybe, really breaking off I think it's kind of hard for anybody who invested a lot of time in the league. As I've said, one of the things I want to do, no matter what the Catholic schools end up doing, is get them involved in our non-league schedule. The Georgetown, Villanova, St. John's, Marquette, DePaul, can't play them all, but to rotate them on and off of our non-league schedule. And I think they'll all be receptive to that. But, it's just, again, when I look at what's going on, I am really thankful that we landed in the ACC when we did.
Right, thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Pete?
Yeah, hey, Mike, I guess maybe talk a little bit about Purdue, what, I know they struggled a little bit this year, but what kind of problems they present?
Well, I think, one of the things you think about with Purdue is they are really going to guard you and pressure the ball and physically defend you. It's what Matt has done with his teams every year, and they rely on that, and they really rebound the ball. So, we may not be able to get into a beautiful flow offensively against them. So can we, if it's an ugly one, can we be mentally prepared to play like that? A little bit like the Evansville game, first game of the season. And then, I think for us, I want us to be able to defend. Guarding them is a little bit like guarding ourselves. Their motion and their movement and their screening, they move very similar to us. Johnson certainly can score the ball. Remember him in high schools, watched him, he's a scorer. I loved Hammonds. We recruited him. Loved him when I saw him as a young player. He's really blossoming. We recruited DJ Bird. I remember when he called me and told me he's going to Purdue and now Notre Dame. Great kid. And he's, I know he went off from the three-point line once this year against Clemson. And I think they're still trying to find their lineup. So it's kind of hard to get a real scouting report on who's going to play because I think they're still trying to figure out who starts, what are the roles, and but I think the thing we have to be prepared for is really guarding us. We're going to have to work offensively to get good shots against Purdue's defense.
Okay, and the last thing for me, what is kind of your philosophy in terms of non-conference scheduling, and is part of that based on the kind of team you have? If you have a stronger team, you have a stronger non-conference schedule, and vice versa?
Well, I guess it would have to start with which conference am I in, and in all this. But, for us, we've always in our since the Big East went to 18 league games, those are 18 power games, and the ACC will be at 18. We've talked about playing 4 power games in our non-league segment of games. And that's kind of been what we do, and I think that's been a good philosophy for us, and it's been a smart philosophy for us, and I don't think that will change moving forward. Now, it's interesting, when we're in the ACC, will we be part of the Big Ten, will be part of the ACC Big Ten Challenge, and the Crossroads continuing, that could be 2 Big Ten games every year that you're playing, which, being out here in Big Ten country, which, been great. I mean, our fans get fired up about that. But whether you have, and, for us, I don't know if we've ever been in a rebuilding year. I don't want to be in a rebuilding year. We've always kind of been consistent and playing for a bid. So it's been, you got 18 league games spoken for. They're all going to be hard. Let's play 4 power games and go from there.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Doug?
Yeah, hi, Mike. I just wanted to get your thoughts on how much you look forward to this Crossroads Classic, and do you hope it's here to stay?
I love it. Indianapolis knows how to do basketball. I think the Final Four there is the best venue, and it gets to be a little bit of a Final Four flavor that afternoon there. It was beautiful last year, sold out, fans rooting for their team, rooting against the other team. The energy in the building was great. I wish we could have played better, and I hope we can play better this year than we did last year against Indiana. But we've extended it for 2 more years, and I don't see any reason why even though we've changed leagues, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't want to keep this thing going. I just think it's a heck of an event, and national TV. The whole state is really watching, and so I think it's great.
And these last couple days of preparation before the actual game on Saturday, will your message be to your team that you expect to get Purdue's A game?
Absolutely. They're coming after us, and their fans will be ready for us down there. Purdue has traditionally played very well in Bankers Life. It's a high level game. I'm not looking at their record or what happened up till this date. With them, they're going to be really ready to go after us, but I think we'll be excited about the challenge.
And last thing from me, as you well know, Notre Dame and Purdue play every year in football, every year in women's basketball. why don't these two schools get together in men's hoops every year?
You know, I think for us, we got to be careful about playing too many Big Ten schools. I don't want to be too regionalized with our schedule. We have this now in place where, you know, you're gonna play Purdue every other year if this keeps going, and I certainly have no problem with that. And we're gonna be in the Big Ten Challenge. So, you know, an IU, Purdue, Michigan State rotation, those aren't bad ones. Again, Michigan, we played Michigan in the regular season. Michigan State, we could play down the road and maybe that. But I think you got to be very careful for us, even though we're out here in Big Ten country. It's convenient to say, play all these people in the state. We want to keep going east. We may go back to UCLA, Kansas, things like that. You know, those are things I think we have to really keep in mind.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
Yep.
Ben?
Well, Doug already asked my question, so I'm good.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks. Mark Lazarus? Mark,
Yes, sorry about that.
do you have a question?
It's been a long time, obviously, since Scott Martin played at Purdue, but do you expect his emotions to be running a little hot for this one?
You know, I think he'll be excited to play, but, you know, the veteran guy that he is and the demeanor he has, you know, I think he's going to be, you know, he'll be stable during it. If it was a younger player in this situation, I would be more concerned, but, you know, Scott's had a lot of experiences here, and he also knows he's got to be rock solid because he's our captain, and our guys really look to him.
What is it that he brings? I mean, all the things, he was such a well-rounded player. What is the one thing, that he brings to your team that means the most to you?
Well, I mean, I would start with what I just said. His leadership has been fabulous. I mean, you know, this guy really knows our system and our program, and he knows his teammates, and he's done as much coaching as probably any of my assistants at times with this group. And that's where it starts. To then talk about what else, I mean, he does so much. You know, I use this as an example. When we have our basketball camp in the summer, our guys are here and they play at night in front of the campers. I always tell the basketball campers, watch Scott Martin play on both ends of the floor. Watch how he plays. He knows how to play the game, how he moves on the offensive end, how he screens, passes, what he defensively, how he rotates, how he talks. You know, he's he's the total package. I've said he's a beautiful basketball player to watch on both ends of the floor, and certainly, you know, his role is so important for us, and what's great is he embraces it to help us be better and win.
Thanks, man.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else for follow-up questions with Mike before we move to people that are here?
Yeah, this is Jeff Washburn with the Lafayette.
Okay, Jeff.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good.
So, Jeff, just wanted to ask you, you know, you've seen Scott through, very difficult times mentally with the injuries that he has had, and, we saw it with Robbie Hummel down here at Purdue. How, as a coach, how tough is that to see somebody go through that and be tested, not only your character, but just so much of basketball players? Just talk about how he handled all this, the frustration of that.
Yeah, I wonder what's in the water in Valpo that these knees are blowing out. You know, that's my first concern. But no, you know, well, one thing that was so hard to watch, Scott comes here and sits out a year and then is really ready to go and blows the knee out. And that was, I don't know if there has been a more discouraging blow for anybody that's played for me here to mentally get over. And it's funny, I said Herringotti was here practicing with us yesterday, getting himself back in shape. I remember how upset Luke was because he was really looking forward to playing with Scott that year, and it never materialized. So, you know, he came back from a lot of stuff, but he's a strong-willed guy. He's a competitor. He's got a great family. I mean, his parents, they've been through a lot too, and, you know, I'm just so happy we were able to get him back this year and, you know, let him play out his career, which he deserved, and his family could come and watch him play here at Notre Dame for another year.
One more thing about Purdue, Mike. You know, I think last time you probably coached against them, I think, was in the NCAA tournament, if I'm right, with Delaware in like '98 in Chicago. But
over the years, you talked about not wanting to play too many Big Ten schools, but, Purdue the type of program that, you've admired what Gene and Matt have done 100 miles away from you guys.
You would bring up that Purdue-Delaware game where we lost by 40 in the United Center, but we did play them in the NIT in,
Right.
what year was that? 06. We did play them in the NIT here. Was that Gene's last year?
Second to last.
Next to last.
Next to last, but we played them here on St. Patrick's Day. No, I have the utmost respect for Matt. I mean, Matt's done a heck of a job with his program. I count him, he's a good friend. Again, when you coach in this state, as long as he and I have, we spent a lot of time together in the same gyms, on the same circuit. And what's neat about this Crossroads, it gives some regularity. Is that it? Regularity? There we go. Gives us some regularity. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate that. To the Indiana-Purdue thing, coming back through our schedule. That was one of the strengths of this thing when my AD and I talked about it. But the utmost respect that, the stat that stuck out to me as I'm watching the NCAA tournament last year is it 10 or 11 straight years they've won a first-round game in the NCAA tournament. It's an unbelievable number where they've won a first-round game. I thought I saw 10. And that kind of speaks to the consistency after they won their first-round game last year. They do what they do. They're going to guard you. They're going to play really hard. And Purdue is going to do what they do under Matt. They always have, always will.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Questions for here, please?
Mike, what's allowed Scott to shoot the ball maybe with as much confidence as he's ever shot it?
My coaching.
Besides that.
My coaching. You know what? It'd be interesting to hear what he says. I think a calmness, a confidence in it this year that's something. I think it's something he focused on this summer, getting more shots up, getting reps up, shooting the basketball. So I think he focused on it. And you know what helps? The way our guards are playing right now. They are delivering the thing. Not that they didn't deliver it really good before, because their efficiency was good last year. Their efficiency right now is a little scary how good it is. So they're finding guys in good spots, and they're finding each other.
You said in the year-end meeting you had with you just told him, just shoot it.
Shoot.
And that was the one thing to concentrate on in the summer.
Get shots up. Get shots up. Because the way we play, with him as that second big, he is really a difficult matchup. And so if you look, he ends up getting a lot of good looks off of our movement. Now, a lot of that is how he moves himself around. He's so crafty at moving, he screens and shapes up. But I do remember that meeting, I said, don't hurt yourself. Make sure you get your rest. I'm not worried about him playing pickup. I'm not worried about rebounding drills for him. He knows all that. Get shots up. And I think, I would say it's probably the first summer he focused on just that and was healthy enough to do that.
Some of the cities you go to in the Big East, Philly, D.C., you have a consistent, strong following. You don't seem to always get that in Indianapolis. It's an odd situation.
It's an odd situation. I think last year, and from what I heard, we sold all our allotment this year. I feel last year and this year, more than any time in our history, and it was before me in the Big Four, we were really the stepchild. We didn't draw. Everybody said, "Oh, that's a great thing." I said, "Well, we should do this again." One of my reservations about doing this was I told Jack Swarbrick, and he was excited about getting this. I said, we haven't really drawn there. Now, we did a good thing getting down there. Jack and I went down. We got with some key Notre Dame people, and we've marketed it where we're getting a following down there. And I'm hoping now that this is an annual thing, it's only going to grow because it's such a good day of basketball. But that was a concern for me going in. I think it's improved.
Mike, how important to have a presence in Indianapolis just from a recruiting perspective, just to do battle there a little bit?
Yeah, with how we're recruiting the state, this is also a reason why this is a good game. We're on a really good run here in the state. We got two of the three leading candidates for Mr. Basketball, in my opinion, with Beecham and Jackson. So, for Notre Dame to have that's a little unusual, but our momentum's good. And so that was a reason why we said this is something we got to do. We want to recruit the state more, and we've been successful with it.
Looking back when Scott was in high school playing AU ball a long time ago now, but what do you remember about when he was being recruited, when you guys were, crossing paths with him a little bit?
What we should have done, the mistake I made was, we should have focused just on Scott Martin instead of recruiting both Hummel and him. Because I think we would have got him if we would have done that. But, we ended up getting him anyways. We should have put our sole focus right there. What I loved about him is what he does today, his feel for the game. They had a heck of an AAU team, and they really knew how to play together. I loved watching them beat people because they played the right way on the AAU circuit against teams that were knuckleheads. And so it was fun. It was fun to watch them win and beat people. But I'm glad we got a do-over and got a chance to coach him.
And what was the transfer process like as you look back on it now?
Yeah, we developed a really strong relationship with him and his family through it. He had a tough freshman year as far as injuries and things. Once it became very public that he was going to leave, that was a quick communication that we really wanted him and he wanted to explore us. There was not a lot of drama there. And, I think it took about a month to kind of talk about things and get him comfortable here and certainly take him to his favorite Mexican restaurant on the way back from his visit. I still don't know why he eats that stuff, but I can't eat it anymore. That's all I know. But he's a really special guy in my tenure here. What he's been through, how he leads, how he delivers the message to the rest of the guys in the locker room. He sacrifices his individual stuff for us to win. There's been just a heck of a guy to coach. I'll miss him. There's guys you really miss. Like we'll miss him next year, unless he gets a seventh year.
So, Mike, interesting looking at your stat sheet. You've got 5 guys in double figures and 3-pointers made, but nobody of those 5, the least is 11 and the most is 14. So you have balance there. Do you prefer that, or do you like having, say, a real go-to guy like a Hansbrough?
I'll take whatever helps us win, and this is how this group is successful. Their balance, they really embrace that. Especially those 5 guys. Those 5 guys have played. Godey said yesterday, he scrimmaged against us, and he came up and said, man, your starting 5 is really good. He played with us for about an hour. And you know what? Our 6 and 7 is coming along pretty good too. But those 5 guys take a lot of pride on playing together, rolling with a guy who's going good, and if it's somebody else now, guys are secure enough. If they're not involved offensively for a while, they don't force anything because they know it's going to come back around to them. And that's been a really strong bond that has helped teach 6 and 7 how to play. And the rest of the team, young guys who will play for us a lot eventually, they're great examples of how we play here. So balance is always a good thing in the long run, really, because it's hard to figure out what to take away.
Now, on the flip side, defensively, you're doing great against the 3, and offensively, Purdue is really struggling there. Are you keeping your players away from the stat sheet this week so they don't see the?
No, we'll talk. We'll prepare to play every defense. We play a little bit of everything, but the 3-point line, defending that arc has become important to us because it can be such a deal breaker in a game. And we do know that Purdue, especially Bird, has gone off to help win a game. So sometimes in a game like this, in this atmosphere, you ignore their percentages because guys shoot it maybe better than they have been shooting. So we always have to be aware of that because that can be the great equalizer.
You've been good at that in that statistic here the last couple of years. What are the keys to being a good?
Well, we got really smart players. So when we talk about our green awareness, green being our call for really defending the arc, and the game is kind of a green awareness game, or the situation calls for that, or team awareness of Bird. It's not just who's going to guard Bird. I think our group has been really good at recognizing transition, getting out the shooters and chasing them off the line, making them shot fake and be 2-point shooters. I think it's something we rep a lot in practice, and then we have really sharp guys that have digested that. And, It's kept us out of trouble. You know, you look at when a team scorches you from the 3-point, they get double-digit threes. You know, there's a good chance you're going to lose the thing. You know, so we try and really be aware of that.
How might what's happening with the 7 basketball schools affect your departure to the ACC?
I think it could expedite it to next year, quite frankly. And no one's told me that here, but my feeling is with the way things are going, maybe we are in the ACC next year. I would think we would know something in a month on what league we're going to play in. As I said before, if we have to play in the Big East another year, I love the Big East, you know, and we'll play and have fun in it, and we'll get to the ACC whenever. But when I look at the climate right now with the Big East, maybe that does get us there next year.
But there hasn't been any, even before this, any movement as far as, well, it could be 14.
No, I mean, there's been no definitive answer other than, I'd say, well, right after we made the decision, be ready to play in the Big East 2 more seasons, most likely. You know, now maybe that's not true after what's going on. So you're thinking, are you there? I'm starting to think, and I'm starting to think about our non-league schedule, because it's a tricky position to be in with our non-league schedule. Are we in the Big East next year? Okay, if we're trending toward the ACC, how do we want to schedule non-league? And that's a discussion we had yesterday as a staff. So I would hope we'd know something in a month, because we do have to play it. You know, we have to, and the ACC has to make a schedule up, and, you know, everybody, so we'll figure it out, but stay tuned, right?
You keep saying 6 and 7. Are you comfortable going to 8 yet?
Open mind to 8, but, you know, I wonder if 7 is a revolving door of Sherman, August, Knight, and don't count out Burgett, because he was really good yesterday. I think 6 has established himself, you know, in camp. But maybe 7 is that, and maybe it is 8. I bumped my head. Could be 8.
But when you say 7, and you look at what Garrett's doing as far as his field goal percentage and his points, would you like to see the turnover number go down a little bit?
He's the guy. He's the guy. We need him. We need him for us to move forward. He's the guy. But it was neat. It was interesting to see Tom Knight come in and save the day like he did last year. And you know what? I have a lot of respect for Tom Knight, because he wasn't getting a lot of chances early, but yet he kept his attitude and kept hanging in there. And you know what? He's going to help us win games. And you know, Zach's probably going to do that. And you know, this guy, Scott's helped Austin Burgett become the player. Austin Burgett's an interesting guy too. But we're going to need Garrick playing, taking better care of the ball and playing on all cylinders for us to be our best.
Being a senior, you could look at Tom Knight as a guy that maybe wouldn't be as engaged, but when I talk to him, all he keeps saying is, you know what, whatever, I just want to win.
Yeah.
And you don't really, I mean, it's kind of a unique situation for a guy who's been around as long as he has.
It's hard when you're here as your 4th year and you're not getting the minutes you'd like to get. That's a daily struggle. That's not lost on me. I'm always concerned about that in the makeup of our team and where guys' heads are at as you coach for 5 months. He has been fabulous with it. I'm sure he's had really tough days. I've never seen it in the practice floor, and that's being a man. And I've told him that in the locker room. I talked about him in the locker room after the game more than anybody, and just being a man and handling things. So. It's funny how it comes back around, and it'll come back around again because he's done it before for us. Thanks, guys.
Great.